You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. Number 600.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoors Station and to podcast number 600. That's right, I started podcasting back in 2005, and over the past 20 years I've created 600 episodes covering all kinds of self-powered adventures like this one. Conversations with other walkers, cyclists, paddlers, sailors, even horse riders, all connected with the journeys we take in life and the pleasures and adventures we find along the way. If you haven't already, do check out the back catalogue and our website for the full listing. There's plenty to explore on theoutdoorstation.co.uk. Now, throughout this trip, time pressures crept in on more than one occasion, as you've already heard, resulting in later finishes than we would have liked. I'll share some suggestions and reflections when we wrap up the series at the end. So, we pick up episode 7 at Lordstone's campsite after a night of relentless rain. Even though we'd pitched at the top of a slope, there was so much water that it had nowhere to go, and our bathtub-style tent floor had become a small island surrounded by water.
Thursday, day 10, and it's been lovely so far. We woke about midnight last night and the weather came in, as it were. First of all, slight drops of rain, and then as the morning developed into high winds. Looking at the forecast, it's about 19 mile an hour winds predicted. The rain is due to ease around 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and currently it is 7:30 and we're just trying to doze and save our energies for a bit later on. I've been out, tightened up all the guys, make sure everything is safe as can be. Even took a visit to the toilet block where it looks like another coaster who I doubt has paid, has somehow got into the toilet block and completely dominated it. So he's got all his stuff hanging out in the shower area, and they were playing music quite happily while taking up the two main toilets. But they soon moved when I asked them to vacate so we could use the facilities. With the campsite coming awake anyway, I should imagine they'll have to tidy themselves up shortly and presumably move on or buy a pitch or whatever the case may be. So today's challenge is to get to the Lion Inn. The forecast is high winds all day, as I say, rain easing a bit later on this morning, and the visibility when I went out's pretty poor. It's low cloud, so there's grey over all the tops, so we'll be back to navigating properly. And looking at the map, it's just sort of undulating up and down, 100 metres here, down 100 metres, etc., and following what is a very well established path, I'm sure, so it should be fairly straightforward. The cafe opens at 9 o'clock here, so depending on what the weather's like at that time, we'll either break camp and go to the cafe and sit in there and warm up for a bit, although we're pretty toasty now, or we will leave the tent up, go and have some breakfast and then come back and possibly break camp then if the weather has eased.
Sounds like a plan. In the meantime, Kindle's a wonderful thing.
Rose has got one of these series of dreadful
How do you know they're dreadful? You haven't read them.
You described the story to me. fantasy books. She buys books in series of 5 just for trips like this, and she just sits and reads during the night and odd times. Very strange. Anyway, so that's 7:30. We'll see what happens in a couple of hours' time, and no doubt we'll check back in. $10:45. We finally dragged ourselves out of Lord Stone's cafe and had a lovely fry up and what did Rose have? Rose, a poached egg on sourdough, one of her favourites this morning. And that set us up for the day. There's not much there to buy. There's a handful of bars, mainly really sugary, sweet things like jelly babies and that sort of stuff. Otherwise it's a gift shop. But we are on the side of Kirby Bank at the moment and just trying to get the body warmed back up again to get going. After the stormy night, the staff say that the forecast is rain, which we can sort of believe. There's a low grey cloud. I can see the sea in the distance, but we've got a low grey cloud hanging over us. It's fairly dull. Obviously it's wet underfoot, a few puddles from last night's rain and wind, and I'm not sure if you can pick it up, but there's a wind behind us at the moment that's blustery, and according to the weather forecast up to 20-mile-an-hour winds for most of the day, which is that horrible moment of do you wear waterproofs or not wear waterproofs, because by the time the rain comes in you get soaked if you haven't been wearing waterproofs. So we've got them on, got everything vented at the moment, because we know in the next half hour we'll probably warm up and start getting all hot and clammy again. So the target today is the line in at Blakely Ridge. All being well, it's a short day, certainly a lot shorter than the last couple of days. So we're hoping it's going to be around the 10-mile mark. That's the indication.
Yeah, the day before yesterday calculated out at 25 miles. Not 22.
It's the extra ones that make the difference, and certainly last night we were fairly exhausted when we got to the campsite as well, but that's because of the last climbs that you have to do. However, it's all doable, and it would have been a lot easier, back to the same old thing, would have been a lot easier with carrying less weight, but still you have to walk the miles, so that's worth considering. But the campsite at Lord Stone's, heard a few mixed reviews about it. It is okay. The spot they reserve for coast-to coasters is slightly up on a bank, so it really does catch the wind. All the sort of family campers are all tucked down in the trees. And as I think I mentioned this morning, when I went to the toilet first thing in the morning, there were what I suspect to be some coaster coasters that snuck into the toilet and used it as their own drying room and accommodation, but they disappeared a bit later on, so I guess they must be ahead of us. In fact, we might meet them at the line in, I guess. So there you go, that's our 10:45 report. Let's see how the day unfolds. We're going to have a break in a couple of hours, have a bar, and then carry on. So I'll fill you in when that happens. At 11:30, top of the first really steep climb. I think Yorkshire people would call this thick coat weather. For the rest of us, you're in full waterproofs and leggings and all the rest of it. But we just passed a couple of ladies who, in all fairness, were fairly mature ladies of the slightly curvier variety, in just shorts and singlets, jogging past us going the opposite way. They don't make them like that all the time, you know. This is Yorkshire.
It's a bit different up here. It's like the tea, it's all a bit special.
I'll say, it wasn't the climb, it was the wind. It was just taking me over. I was on all hands and knees trying to get up. Just,
Well, I've got a few ups and downs to do, but I certainly think we're in the 20 mile an hour range now at least. Right, I'll put this away before you can't hear any more. Well, we just climbed up from the B1257. We're just almost at the top to start Car Ridge. This wind is coming at us at right angles, so one misstep and it really catches you and throws you off balance. But we just met some locals coming the opposite way, and they said there's only one more hill after this, and that's after the Lion Inn. So all being well, once we get over this next slight undulation, we should just amble on until we get to our destination, which I think is about 6 miles away, about 10 kilometers. The weather's holding off. There is rain in the air. Certainly there's rain in the wind, and it really does catch you by surprise every time you get exposed. But when you're down in the gully there before you do the climb, there's no wind at all, and you start to heat up. But anyway, nowhere near as tough as a climb in the Lake District, but tough enough on a day like today. We were just saying that don't quite have as much energy as we had yesterday, but I suppose a part of that would be down to pretty poor night's sleep, I guess.
And 2 very long days beforehand.
Anyway, so it is 1 o'clock on the nail. We'd like to get there before 6 if we can. As I say, 6 miles, it should be easy, but I've said that before and been told off by you know who, so I am not making promises this time. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. We've just hopefully got to the last bend before we get down to the Lion Inn, and it's been 5.5 miles along an old railway track, very easy going, fine grit, fine shale, walking very, very level, but flipping heck, that wind is coming at us at right angles, and of course we're not going in a straight line, we're going around corners and whatever. When we duck out of the wind, and then all of a sudden, bang, it hits you again. And we've just had it head on. I almost lost my head where you almost lost your buff. It was brutal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then the rain comes in with it, and you can see it coming in sheets and waves. And
it's like hail.
Oh, I put my waterproofs on, and then 2 minutes later it's dry again.
Yeah, well, I got soaked to the skin on my trousers, and it didn't take very long for those to dry in the wind. But there's nowhere to get out of. It's worthwhile knowing there is nowhere to get out of the wind. The few places that look like there's a ditch are full of water, obviously, or whatever. But in fact, we had a break.
I was really glad you brought that body bag. We've used that a few times on walks, haven't we?
In similar conditions, when it's just a horizontal wind and there's no shelter. So a little 2-man body bag, we sort of put it up sideways, so it's like a cave really. We sit in it, and it takes the wind off you, and you can just have a break from it. But it's
had some lunch.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just sort of saying we recharge. But if we hadn't had that, there was actually very little place, because it's a wet, soggy day. It's not the sort of day you want to sit down anywhere, is it?
Yeah, and the views are continually the same.
Yeah. Pleasant views, but monotonous and boring. So we're hoping that we're about to go around the bend, less than a kilometre to go. We should see the Lion Inn, or at least signs of civilization. And we've decided that because everything is soaked Last night the tent did a great job, but there was so much water coming up from the ground that we had soaked through on the ground sheet as well. So wherever anything of pressure, like the sleeping mats were lying against the mat, they soaked through. So it's all a bit soggy. I mean, we could manage again if we put it up, but it'd be nice to get a room. So we've decided to,
If they've got one,
try and see if we can get a room and actually finish early for once. It's only, it's 10 to 4, Rose. Good grief. That should keep somebody happy. Right, let's crack on, shall we? And see what is round the bend. Around about 4:30 we arrived at the Lion Inn and immediately looked for a room, which was impossible. They're fully booked. We since found out that they're always inundated with accommodation, which may also account for some of the attitude that you can clearly experience when you're in there. The staff just aren't interested. They're quite dismissive, which is a real shame. We could have camped, but the weather tonight is foul, like it was last night, and because the tent is actually sodden as opposed to just a bit wet, we decided to see if we could find a B&B. So we phoned round while we were sitting in the bar there, and we've ended up at the Seven Ford House bed and breakfast. And sad to say, it ain't cheap. So we're just desperate. We're actually really, really tired. As I say, a lot of things are completely soaked, so we just need to dry things out and air a few things and also enjoy this break. But the price is equivalent to the Burgoyne Hotel back in Reeth for what is a very nice bed and breakfast, but is it that nice?
It does include a pick up and drop off though, and it's a bit of a diversion, isn't it? It took us about 20 minutes the ride in the car, but there were other people. It's not like we're the only ones they were picking up and dropping off. There's another father and son team who are doing the coast to coast as well through Packhorse, who were picked up and will be dropped off in the morning with us.
Yeah, so we'll all be going back up together tomorrow morning. So yeah, it quite an exhausting day. That actual route that we walked, I think we described that fairly well. The last 5.5 miles along the railway line was really quite laborious, and it was easy walking except for the 20-mile-an-hour wind, which made everything a real challenge, as you can imagine. But the book suggests walking from Osmotherley to the Lion Inn, which we're just trying to work out how you'd actually manage to do that, because it's pretty tough, the climbing out of Osmotherley, and the second climb as you go up towards the campsite, and then you've got a climb after that before you get onto the tops and across the tops before you then get to the railway line. So that would be quite a day, quite a pull for anybody, whether you were carrying camping gear or you were doing a Sherpa service. Anyway, that brings today to a close. We are hoping to air the tent and get things dried, and there's a pub which is some 5-10 minutes down the road which we need to go and eat at, and then we'll probably get to bed early because we need the rest, if nothing else. But the last few days hopefully will be considerably shorter, and the weather forecast is much brighter, so things should end on a nice high, similar to when we started in the Lake District. So we'll chat tomorrow.
We found the whole Lion Inn experience a little disappointing, to be honest. As with many popular tourist spots we've visited over the years, where they're often oversubscribed, the attention to detail and the willingness to help just wasn't there. We were particularly surprised that when we asked if they had a list of alternative nearby accommodation, the answer was simply, Google it yourself. I couldn't help but think, if I didn't have a smartphone, where would that leave me? Anyway, the B&B we eventually contacted was already picking up 2 walkers from the Lion Inn and kindly offered to collect us too, for an extra £25. Combined with the £125 for the night, it ended up being more expensive than the Burgoyne Inn and certainly nowhere near as memorable. The nearest pub to the B&B was a good 20 minutes walk away, and without prior booking we almost didn't get a meal that evening. So while we did manage to dry the tent out and enjoy a warm night indoors, it did sting the budget a little. Apparently, the Lion Inn really does need to be booked weeks in advance. You could camp in the field behind in fine weather, or in the walled beer garden in wet conditions after 5 p.m, I think. But that evening just wasn't ideal. In all fairness, on a better night, we might have stayed. But our soaked tent and our dampened enthusiasm soon made the decision for us.
So it is day 11, almost 10 o'clock, and we're now back at the Lion Inn, having been dropped back by the owner of the B&B. As you can tell probably from the sound, the wind is still blowing, but the forecast is looking brighter today, no rain as such, and there's certainly a bit of blue in the sky as well as very fast moving clouds. Looking around, still the undulating Yorkshire moors. Lots of traffic. I suppose it's coming up to the weekend as well, and it is the end of half term, so people might be making the most of it. But the traffic's fairly busy. I'm just got to walk a bit along this road before getting back down onto the track and continuing on our way. We're not too sure where we're staying tonight. It's a bit of a confusing options. Not exactly oversupplied by campsites and other options, so we'll see how it transpires. Anyway, I'm getting cold standing recording this, so we'll get going now. (11:30) and we're currently walking across the top of Glaisdale Moor. The weather's turned quite nice. Sun's come out. Well, intermittent sun anyway, in between the clouds. Bit of a breeze behind us. The 20-mile-an-hour breeze that troubled us yesterday was coming in from our right. When we left the Lion Inn, obviously we were walking in a different direction, so it was coming in from our left. But it was really hard work walking along the side of the road, leaning into it, and then the people driving past were not that considerate. Plenty of space on the road, and they're still coming very close. So glad the weather wasn't any worse really, because it would have been quite hard to stagger that couple of miles. But getting off there and onto the side roads and then onto the moor, yeah, very pleasant. Beautiful views down the valley. You can see the remnants of the mining works, and certainly very picturesque as we look towards the coast. We can see the sea. Not in great detail, but we know it's there. So I'm trying to turn my back to the wind to record this, so I hope it's not too noisy. But that's our update. Not too sure what we're going to do when we get down to Glaisdale. We're looking for camping if we can find it, but yeah, I think we're going to have a struggle a bit, let's say. Anyway, I'll come back to you later. I wish to register a complaint. This straight road, what I've been walking on for a good hour or so, I've just come over an hill and it's still straight. It's like following the yellow brick road down to Glaisdale. You keep thinking, right, it'll drop down now, it'll drop down now, it'll drop down now, and it just opens up to another long straight bit across the moor. Looking forward to that cup of tea. Hope there's a tea shop there or something.
We weren't quite sure where we'd end up that particular evening, but as we reached the end of the Yellow Brick Road, we spotted a sign for the Arncliffe Arms, which offered camping. I made a call on the spot, and yes, there was plenty of space. This was a huge relief and immediately took the pressure off. When we arrived, who should we see, enjoying a beer in the sunshine, but Bruce and his son Cameron from Leeds, the other couple from the B&B that we'd been leapfrogging over the previous few days. It was the perfect opportunity to chat with them about their experience of walking the trail and how much of a difference a 12-year gap makes when you split the route into 2 sections.
I think it's challenging even when you're not carrying a big heavy pack. I think you have to be prepared for the ups and downs and the long days, well, not as well as some short days, but there are a couple of long days which I think even if you are prepared are tough. To be honest, I'm quite relieved I'm not carrying a big heavy pack. I don't know what you feel about it.
Yeah, well, I was saying it this morning that I think after a few days people say you walk yourself fit, but I think you also psychologically you just get used to your legs aching a bit anyway.
The saying that I like is you stop carrying your pack and you start wearing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And you wake up and for the 4th time your legs ache in the morning. It's not a novelty anymore, and then you're like, oh, I actually feel pretty good this morning, even though you feel your legs aching. You're like, oh, they ache a bit less than usual, but it's probably just the fact that you're used to it, I think.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do it all in one go, I don't think you can do it without some sort of preparation or training, practice walks and things like that. I think if the idea that you can just turn up not very fit and just walk for 12, 14 days and finish without it taking its toll, I think is a bit ambitious, really. And not. Yeah.
So if you broke it down to stages then, looking at the lakes, how would you describe the 3 stages that we've gone through?
Well, we did the lakes 12 years ago because we split it into 2 bits. So our memories differ, I think, from Cameron's memory. But I was 10, 12 years younger and actually don't remember it being. I think this bit's been tougher for me, but I put that down to an age thing rather than because obviously there's a lot higher peaks in the lakes. The days are still 14 miles each. So and we had the same luggage service then as we've got now. So I think I'm probably just not as fit as I was. Yeah,
I think that's probably true. I think it's so difficult. I mean, I was 16 12 years ago, so I think it's been harder now, but my footwear's been bad this time. My boots fell apart because they're the same boots that I wore 12 years ago, and then I've been wearing trainers ever since. So I think that does play a big role, and definitely can underestimate the importance of having good feet. So, and I'm do also for fun, go out and semi hurt yourself on a bike and that's the idea of fun. So it is, you're on your feet all day. Is difficult, I think, either with a pack or without. And like I said, that's what I meant with you get used to on the 4th day. I think you do. It's all relative, isn't it? If you've got the pack on your bag, if you've got the bag on your back, then you get used to it, don't you, a bit more, and then it's your own what your plateau is in your head of what normal is. And I think probably you've been carrying your bag, and we've been carrying like a 5th of the weight. Probably it's the same effort level, just taken differently in your brain.
Sure.
If you're having a miserable day weather-wise, then it's just head down and get on with it, really, isn't it? If you've got a nice day.
We have been lucky with the weather, haven't we?
Yeah.
Although yesterday when the clouds were coming in and the rain it's not really rain, it's just carried by the wind, isn't it, and hitting you on the side.
Yes, if you had that for 2 weeks, it would be it would be a sort of challenge of your perseverance rather than anything else, I think.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I think, obviously this time of year it doesn't get dark till 9-10 o'clock, so there's actually no hurry. You can take as long as you need to take. The problem with the baggage service is sometimes you don't get in too close to the path, and you have to get picked up, and there's a bit of a pressure that you need to be finished by about 5 o'clock, because that's what time they want to come pick you up. And if you've got a long day like yesterday, 20 odd miles and up and down, there's a slight pressure to finish at a time. So I was ringing them halfway and say where we were and stuff. if you're doing what you're doing, then you've got none of that. You just stop when you feel like it. So that's nice. I think that pressure of time.
And looking at the bag transferal service overall, obviously you've paid for a service to transfer the bags and book your accommodation for you, but that doesn't include the takeaway lunch or additional foods or whatever else. So can that be pretty hit and miss?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of the bed and breakfasts have cottoned on to the income they can generate from giving you lunch, and it's a standard thing. It's a basic sandwich. It's a carton of orange. It's a chocolate bar and some crisps. And nobody really eats the crisps, so there's jokes about them being left at that white stone, as a gift. So I think we've never really bothered with that. We've tried to get something along the way, which is not always as easy as it could be. That's the other thing people don't realise. I think that sometimes there's big gaps between, and then lots of pubs and things are shut. So yes, I think that could be better. You do. You pay. You pay. I had no idea really what the charges are, how it's broken down, how much the pack calls take for themselves. But it's not. It turned out to be relatively expensive, really. So if you're on a tight budget, you probably have to camp.
The structure of it doesn't induce the B&Bs to kind of innovate for quality, because you pay for it before you get it, and you're going to eat it once you've left. So unless you're leaving a review, which I guess a lot of people don't really do, and you kind of just expect that, what yesterday was just 2 bits of bread with tuna mayo in, which was probably bought from a shop and just put inside. And what was that like?
It was
£4.
But it would have been £8.
It'd have been about 62p to make that. So I mean, I don't mind, because one, Dad's paying, and
well, we only did that because it was a 20-odd mile day, and there's nothing in between. Just on the moors.
That's the
all
main
day.
thing, is you've got nothing else. And if you're turning up asking for a sandwich, you obviously don't have any other opportunity to get anything. So you've got no competition. So
there's no incentive for them maybe to.
There's no incentive for them.
So would you say? I mean, we've been surprised, but would you say you've been surprised by the lack of sort of facilities and things between the main towns?
Definitely, yeah. I think lots of pubs are shut, and lots of pubs are only open in the evening.
And the hours they're open are also quite short, aren't they?
I mean, apparently, despite all the coast to coasters, it's not enough trade for them to be financially viable at lunchtime. I suppose when they're out, some of them are quite out of the way, aren't they? The best lunch we had was just at that tuck shop at the campsite in Denby, Whisk. She went to a lot of trouble to make us a nice roll, and that was cheap and cheerful, I think.
That was worth the money, and lots of variety in there as well. They recommend.
Yeah, I must admit, Denby Whisk was I think is unique on the crossing as being an oasis of.
But then that
rest.
That pub is not open until the evening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She said she's. I think she's probably doing so well because the pub's not making that much of an effort.
Yeah.
So to conclude then, I mean, obviously father and son walking together after X number of years, 10 years was it, did you say?
About 12 years, yeah.
12 years. Have you still enjoyed each other's company?
Nothing much has changed really, still doesn't do as he's told. No, it's been great. I mean, yes, it's obviously the opportunity to spend time gets less and less as everybody, they get older and get jobs and do various things, so it's been good. Yeah,
well, we've been talking about doing it for 10 years. And you saying you're not doing it as told, I'm big time telling Mum that Dad just eats his picnic bar for lunch. He's eating his chocolate before he eats his sandwich and his apple. So, yeah, you're going to get in trouble for that.
I think it's a good thing to do. I mean, we met another group, which was a dad and his 2 sons doing it. So I think it's a good way of bonding, spending time together. Yeah,
it's classic type 2 fun, isn't it?
It's cheaper than a skiing holiday.
Yeah. And you do more time together, so you do just end up talking about more stuff. Yeah.
This is a rather novel but very pleasant moment. For the first time, we've got somewhere early afternoon, pitched the tent, and we're sitting here having a cup of tea, which is what camping can be all about, especially it's in the nice weather. We arrived across the top of Glaisdale Common, and as we exited the common, there's a sign by the side of the path which for the Arncliffe Arms, where it says walkers welcome, camping, and, you know, B&B and all that sort of stuff. We thought, fantastic. So I made a call, because after yesterday we don't want to be disappointed. I made a call, and sure enough, yes, they've got a camping field. So we made our way through Glaisdale, which, for people coming this way, it does have a shop, but the shop has very limited hours. It looks like it's 8:30 till 12 o'clock each day, and next to it is a butcher's, and it's a great local butcher's, and we picked up some sausage rolls and a bacon and egg pie from there, and we zigzagged our way through the little village on the roads as the guide takes you, and in fact the route takes you right opposite the Arncliffe Arms. So called into the Arncliffe Arms. I mean, in all fairness, it's a little bit tired, the pub. It's a bit sad. It's had better days, but the welcome was warm enough, and they have got a very large field opposite the pub where they say you can do some wild camping. £10 a tent. Best described as a very hilly field, but would you believe, lo and behold, there's a little oasis of a flat area which would probably hold about 4 or 5 little tents, and we've managed to nab that for ourselves. So we decided that we would stop here. It'd give us plenty of time to recoup for our walk tomorrow, and it's about time we stopped at lunchtime, really. So we were here about 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish, weren't we? And it is now 3 o'clock, and the landlord has given us a small bottle of milk, so hence we've made the tea, and he sold us some cake, and so we've just had a picnic lunch of sausage rolls, sausage and bacon pie, cake and tea, and we've booked in for a meal later on at the pub. So all is right with the world. Looking up, the sky is not completely blue, but there's plenty of blue in the sky. Clouds are moving fairly quickly, so the wind's still gusting along. We've certainly had plenty of wind today, continuing on from yesterday as we came over the top of the moor. And certainly that road, it was like the yellow brick road. It just never ended, just kept going. But we eventually came down and hoped to find somewhere to stop. So we've been very lucky, because as far as we can see, according to the map and all the other guides and the Facebook page and all the rest of it, there's very little between here and Inch Farm, where we've booked in for tomorrow night.
Yeah, we could have actually have cracked on today. Cameron and Bruce, who we met at that B&B last night, and they're doing the baggage transfer jobby. They're actually finishing tomorrow and are going on to Grosmont today, which actually is only another 3 miles down the road, so we could have easily have done that. But we are hoping to meet up with Simon and possibly Ruth tomorrow at Inch Farm, so we can take a very leisurely route, because we always aim to finish on Sunday. So
all three of us can finish together and enjoy each other's company and celebrate together, which would be nice. So that will probably bring today's recordings to an end.
Yep, so we just sat here watching the wind blow the hedge and the trees and the grass, which is not too long but long enough, in the field with lots of buttercups, so very pleasant with my cup of tea.
Fancy another?
As I said, the Arncliffe Arms was sadly a bit of a tired place, considering the number of coast-to-coasters who must pass their door each year. The landlord was good-natured and helpful, though his wife was certainly a strong character, shall we say. We had a simple meal there that evening, which was fine, but the following day we heard from other walkers booked in for accommodation through their various tour operators that breakfast wasn't exactly hostess with the mostess. We had the camping area to ourselves that night, and as I sat with my cuppa, I couldn't help but wonder why they hadn't levelled out a few more pitches for a larger number of tents. Another missed opportunity to make life easier for walkers and increase their income. So there you go, folks. Episode 600 and 20 years of podcasting. If you can find a moment to leave a review or a comment, we'd be very grateful. We'll be concluding this series very shortly. So, until next time, take care out there, and bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear or see more from our extensive free library, please visit theoutdoorsStation.co.uk.